Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the People Power Masterclass Challenge. Thank you for sticking with me and sticking with the group so far over these last couple of days. And I do hope you're going to enjoy this session I've got lined up for you this morning. I'm going to share my screen to start with because we're going to get into the world of psychometrics today. People power psychometrics. And we're going to use the Lumina Spark personality model to have a look at this. So let me see if I can share my screen quickly. Here we go. Now, psychometrics are quite interesting based on, well, the godfather of psychometrics is a guy called Carl Jung. And effectively, they're built up of pretty similar colors. You tend to get across personality profiles and psychometrics red, which it tends to be commanding and outcome focused. You get blue traits as well, blue qualities, that tends to be quite calm, practical, down to earth. Green is full of people energy, and yellow is big picture thinking, ideas, warm sunshine approach. And Lumina Spark's no different. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to explain the opposites here. All of these opposites. And we're going to, the activity that I've got lined up for you is for you to have a think about which of these you're drawn to. Now, there's a couple of things to note before we start with this. Actually, everything is equality. Everything is equal here. And that's really important. You can be all of the things around here. There's no one that is better than the other. And quite often, extroverts and introverts, yeah, it's a bit strange, isn't it? Everyone wants to be outgoing and introvert and extrovert. But actually, introverts have a lot of value to add, a lot of energy to bring, especially on a one-to-one level. And so let's consider that opposite to start with. Do you feel more drawn to extrovert or introvert or both perhaps? Extroverts, well, extroverts love to talk and think at the same time. So you get a lot of quantity of information out of an extrovert, and they draw their energy from being around lots of other people. Opposite to that, we have introvert. It's no better, no worse than extroversion. And often what we find with introverts is they really think first and talk second. So you'll get a lot less from an introvert, but it doesn't mean it's any less quality. They can really save up a point that's very meaningful and take a discussion in a totally different direction. Really good at pausing, listening, seeing underneath people, whereas extroverts are really good at thriving off other people, getting people together, and enjoy talking and exchanging energy that way. So these two might annoy each other, I suppose, as might people opposite if you're thinking about down to earth versus big picture thinking. So let's move across to that one. Now, I know two people who work together. One of them is very good operationally. They've got all the policies in place. They've got the procedures. They've got the documents. They know how to run a very tight operation. And they're very good here down to earth. They like practical solutions to problems. They see problems quite early on with what's going to be happening. They like information to base their decisions on. And that can make them a little bit hesitant. And opposite them, their business partner is full of ideas, full of inspiration, off finding the next big thing to be working on. And if they're not really careful, they can drain each other or annoy each other, because the down-to-earth person is thinking, well, we haven't really finished landing all this other stuff you were talking about. And now you're off thinking about new ideas. You're very imaginative. You're a dreamer. You like being creative and conceptual. So unless we're really appreciative of the other person's qualities, it can be quite draining. We're going to move across now to people-focused and outcome-focused. Maybe these will resonate with you. And when I was in my leadership career in retail, I remember having an appraisal with a manager. And all year long, I had been trying to keep this person satisfied. Nothing was working. Every target I hit, it should have been more. Every decision I made, it should have been different. I was just drained trying to work for this person, trying to keep them satisfied. And so at the end of the year, I turned around and said, look, working for you has really been tough. It's just drained me. And they turned around and said, Simon, you're so happy clappy. Now, what we were really talking about here was I was overplaying my people energy, making sure everyone was feeling in a good place, engaged, motivated. I was interested in checking in with people, making sure that they were okay. Whereas he was so focused on hitting the numbers, driving people really hard, driving me really hard. And actually, we hadn't appreciated each other's quality. I just thought he was being a bit of an arse, to be honest with you, and not interested in getting the best out of me. So only later did I realize that actually we were exact opposites here. And our qualities, because we were so entrenched in our qualities and hadn't appreciated the other person's qualities, the relationship was no good. Let's move around here finally to inspiration driven and discipline driven. And I like to use the analogy here of teenagers and parents. So teenagers, well, their brains are going through massive change. They're interested in highs and experiences to get their rush. And so often what we find with teenagers is they're very spontaneous. They'll do things just off the cuff. If someone calls up, they'll be off out for goodness knows how long, goodness knows where. They're just quite flexible. They're quite happy to go with the flow, whatever they feel like doing. If they feel like chilling, they'll do that. If they feel like doing something else, they'll do that. So they're quite adaptable and flexible and spontaneous with their outlook, but play that off against a very adult, discipline-driven approach. And so adults say this all the time, I think, to teenagers. Oh, why don't you get a job? Why don't you do this? Get off your backside and do something meaningful with your time. And that's a very reliable, structured, and purposeful, goal-oriented way of living, isn't it? Something we've grown into as adults. We must be effective with our time. Why don't you use this time wisely? Rather than where teenagers would rather be, which is, yeah, I'll see how I go. You know what I mean? I'll just take it as it comes. And I'll chill out and just enjoy the moment for the moment. And if something better comes along, well, I'll do that next. So that's quite interesting because, again, there's a tension there between the teenager and the parent. Now you've had a chance to experience and think about all the different aspects of the Lumina Spark psychometric model that we've got here. And obviously there's a lot more depth to this. But I'd like to wrap up with a few considerations, a few reflections. Could it be that the people who are opposite us are not necessarily trying to annoy us? They're simply overplaying their strengths. So if we're going to be more influential with people, first of all, we have to know where our qualities are. Where do we sit on this? I mean, we can be everything, but where do we go to? And secondly, where are other people? Where are their qualities? So that's the first question I have for you in today's activity. Number one is, where do I go? Where do I feel drawn to around here? What's me in all of this? And the second thing is, consider the relationships around you. Partners, bosses, kids, friends. The people that are closest to you. See if you can plot them. And if this was a mat, where would you be stood on this mat? And where would they be stood on this mat? Because I reckon there's probably an opportunity here for you to start talking in their language and valuing their quality to help you become more influential with them. It's not about changing who we are. I think it's about flexing and being appreciative of where other people are so we can influence them better rather than rah, rah, rah. Now, once you're stood on your qualities where you think you feel more drawn to around here, I'd like you to take a moment and just consider what happens if we overextend. What happens if we do this quality a bit too much? And just notice how the description around the edge here changes. So maybe if I'm a little bit too down to earth and I like all of the information around me before I make a decision, could it be that if I do that too much, I come across as change resistant? And certainly when I was a leader, I thought my manager was simply argumentative and trying to win at all costs and seeking conflict with me. Whereas actually I was probably being a little bit too people-pleasing, perhaps acquiescing with other people, giving in quite a lot, making sure everyone was in a good place rather than being a bit more front foot with my decision-making. So maybe there's an opportunity to recognize when we overextend. So hopefully you found that useful. It's the third day of 3 days in our challenge, our People Power Masterclass challenge. Please get in touch if I can help you with any of your people problems, your behavior challenges, anything like that. Private message me on that. And like I say, summarize on the activities today. Where do you feel drawn to on the mat of Lumina Spark? Where are the people around you? And what happens if you overplay your qualities? Enjoy, everybody. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.